My name is Javon Greenaway. I'm a senior at Newtown High School. Had a wonderful year so far. Graduation is ahead. Joining the United States Marine Corps. My topic that I chose to speak about for this research symposium is there an agenda to destroy the black male image? The reason why I chose this topic is because as a black male myself, there's a lot of stereotypes labeled amongst African Americans which are very negative, and we all don't like stereotypes. And not to say that stereotypes are false, but they just don't put on a good image for us. And it really bothered me, especially when I came up here, about how I always heard, from your Frederick Douglass's, Booker T. Washington, Franklin D. Roosevelt, how we need to improve as a society. What are some things that we could do to better ourselves? But we never do it. We always talk about it, but then the modern generation, they end up failing. They end up forgetting the patriarchs, the ones who started the movement for change. Well, let's not give up on the change. My research will explore what are the stereotypes among African American males, using statistic and data research of African American males, how media exposes black males in a negative manner. So this is just for my audience. You guys feel free to ask questions as I click. So this is just your thoughts on black men and why. So as you see on your right here, you have your Frederick Douglass, your oral writers, your speakers, philosophers, and your scholars versus your maybe gynecologists, doctors, those who are in the medical field. Compared here, you have those labeled lies as thugs and gangsters or criminals. Stereotypical words associated with black males are hostile, uneducated, lazy, careless, closed-minded, or thuggish. I've chosen to do a quote from Martin Luther King, who was a phenomenal man, a man of nonviolence, a man of peace, who was very respectful. I mean, if around in this time of living day, if this man was still alive, he would have so many awards and people that respect him until this day. Honestly, I don't know anybody who would really hate this man unless they were a really racist person. And his quote states, "I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear." The media discrepancy concerning the stereotypes portrayed. Now, as I was Googling and looking for scholarly sources, I ended up coming across stereotypes that are amongst the black ethnicity and the white ethnicity. I know Wikipedia really isn't a valuable source. It's more like anybody could kind of free write whatever they want to there. But it definitely had come to my speculations, and I found a lot of things interesting as I was reading through this whole article. And most of the stereotypes that you guys see here, you have the Uncle Tom, crack victims, savage, welfare, and all of these things, as they have the different novels and books that were written throughout the years that we could look up and read ourselves. What intrigued me is how much information, as we scroll up and down, you see all of these references, all of these sources, but yet when we compare it to white stereotypes, there's not much. It's in fact very short. I want you guys to take a look right there. Very small, big difference. So the media discrepancy continued. Here you have white males smoking. One that looks like a professor. One guy thinks it's just to be cool, or the guy is just typical. Versus here you have what looks to be appeared in none other than a youth smoking and a thuggish apparel, or prompting it to say it's cool, everybody should do it, which we know smoking is bad. Other stereotypes that society links to African American males are absentee fathers, government dependent, welfare section 8, unemployed, incarceration and illegal affairs, uneducated. Note, these are the common stereotypes among upper class high society, other races, and there are statistics and evidence that give support to these stereotypes as we just have referenced. I want you guys to take a careful look here on all these ethnicities, Hispanics, Blacks, Native Americans. Here, the darker ones is supposed to represent the males, and the lighter ones is supposed to represent the female. And this is the percentile of those who have went to further on in an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree. Then I want you guys to take a careful look at the Black ethnic group and see how low it is for the males. It's at 34%. While the females and majority of the other ethnicities were striving. So Black men compared to all the other ethnic groups were at the lowest. Racial disparities in incarceration. In 2014, African Americans constituted 2.3 million or 34% of the correctional population. African Americans are incarcerated at more than 5 times the rate of whites, though African Americans and Hispanics make up approximately 32% of the U.S. population. They comprise 56% of all incarcerated people in 2015. If African Americans and Hispanics were incarcerated at the same rates as whites, prison and jail populations would decline by almost 40%. African American fathers are as different from one another as they are from other groups. They come in all shapes, shapes, and types. Yet the stereotype Black father is seen by those who are not of color as a visitor to his family, underemployed, marginal to his family, inattentive to his children, rather violent, and plainly not in the family picture. In reality, African American fathers are as dedicated to their children and families as are men of other racial groups. Some are models of perfection and some are deadbeats. Other media that has negatively impacted Black males, such as that dealing with the local news, Freddie Gray incident, the Baltimore riots, again on the social platform from podcasts and social media. You have Tommy Sotomayor, you have your Hollywood movies, like Boys in the Hood. A lot of these actors take on these stereotypical roles. Don't Be a Menace to Society. Television shows such as The Last OG, Good Times, and music, genres such as hip hop and rap. We are our toughest critics. More Black men experience significant challenges than white men, have higher levels of worry, and are harsher in their judgment of Black men. Even so, more are focused on achieving success in a career, on living a religious life, and are optimistic about a bright future. In just about every area, Black men are their own harshest critics, as well as the most optimistic that things will get better. Now, this is a quote that I chose from Will Smith, a guy who believed that African American male image is also tainted. His quote states, "I try to speak my points of view about Black America and how I feel about Black men and the role that Black men should play in their lives, with their children, and in their lives with their women." Another guy, this is just imagery of a radio talk show host, producer, and also filmmaker. Tommy Sotomayor confirming the Black male image is tainted. Here's a fact that I have found in my research. There are about 300,000 more Black men in college than there are in jail. But you would never know that watching Fox, CNN, YouTube, or World Star, would you? There are some images of us they don't ever show. Thoughts of Black males from Black males I interviewed at Newtown High School. Now this is from a religious Muslim organization, which is known as the Moorish Science Temple located in New York. This was stated by a Grand Sheikh. Black men themselves have installed a change in themselves once they realize they have a greater role to play out in their lives. Stated from the Grand Sheikh. This is from a teacher here at Newtown High School, Mr. Hopkins. "Many of us are progressing, but we can all do better." Still the same quote. "Unfortunately, Black men have been conditioned over 300 years to believe they are inferior to other races. We tend to believe what we have been told. How to act. Black men must take on the responsibility to teach Black youth about how they are destined for greatness and direct them on the path to get there." This is from Mr. Shields. The need for continuous progression is a must if we want to be taken seriously. This is from Jack Catterall. So what can African American males do to prevent others from thinking poorly of them? One is dress to impress. Have a care in how you present yourself. I'm not going to say image is everything, but we should dress more professional and actually, have care for how we look. Regard education. Go on and get a bachelor's degree. Graduate from college, further on your education. Get a business, try to become a lawyer, a banker, as education provides careers. Mentor one another, like a big brother and little brother organization, where some of us in these communities have a lot of mental problems, a lot of anger, and we just don't know how to deal with them. Or a lot of us are great speakers, but feel like we're shunned out from the rest of society. We become loners because we feel that the modern world, everybody isn't where we are, so we tend to shut ourselves in society. Well, why don't we actually create programs where we can start mentoring one another? Actually have the elders mentoring the youth mentoring the youth. We need that. Create a positive climate and interactions with each other. Think positively and have respect in our language and speak more proper than using profanity and words of that nature. The last one is stop feeling entitled to those things that are given to us. Just because we may have, came here, nobody should feel entitled like they need something or that they've earned it. You have to work hard to earn for something. Nothing is ever just given to you. And respect ourselves. Before we can learn to do anything, we must respect ourselves first. That means giving ourselves the proper care, education, and the hard time of studying. So therefore, when we interact with other people, have social communion, or just even a personal interview, you want to know what you're talking about. You want to, be educated, not just there and you don't know what you're talking about, something like that. So all these are elements that are important for us to change for ourselves. Any questions?
Stereotypes obviously come from Caucasian people. Do you think Caucasian people need to stop rampant stereotypes that take place?
Yeah, so stereotypes itself, as stated, from my own opinion, I don't think stereotypes should be, not saying they're false, but a lot of times it shouldn't really fit a race. We shouldn't just fit to a label. We shouldn't let a label labelize who we are. And that's the thing we've let too much over the past 300 years, is just let that labelize as us when it's not really us. So it kind of paints a false image that how we really are. It's like a false perception. Only with the things we see on movie and television is really what it is, but it's not what it is in real life.
I have a follow-up question. You put this question. So you think that these stereotypes have kind of molded, do you think without the stereotypes that society would still be where it is? I feel like some people fit into stereotypes after they learn about them.
That's a good one. I'll say if stereotypes didn't exist, this world would probably be much of a better place. But here's another thing to interact with that. If we stop acting out the negative connotative stereotypes and actually act like ourselves, there will be no stereotypes to even use. There wouldn't be a point for it. So generally, there's somebody literally acting out and playing the role, the stereotype, so they could be labeled as it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is there anything that you think specifically that the education system can do to help break those stereotypes and counter those the negative connotations?
So just as the nice Muslim girl that came up here, she shared before, especially she's from South Asia, different schools provide different opportunities for children. And those who are in their teenage years for furthering on and building on to get to that college level. Frankly, because we live in the U.S., things are a lot more accumulative for us. And those are military service, those are lawyers, those who actually have the funds and money to, put into the kids' education. Sometimes it's free compared to then in other countries, it's not. So we have a big opportunity on our hands. It's just the fact of, do we want to take it seriously? I think the schooling, they're doing all they need. There can be some counterfeits of that. There are some students who, they tend to feel like the things we learn in school aren't really accessible or really of much use. They like to learn things pretty much hands-on themselves. They like their own subjects. And there are schools that do that too. It's all about how you see yourself in today's society. Are you the type that like to just be in a class setting or be at home? You're right there on time, you got the good communication, you can research things on your own. So I think it always depends on the individual. But the sources are there for us. Any other questions?
So, do you think that there is profit in those stereotypes? For example, you mentioned media, so media. What about the prison system?
Yes. So with the incarceration and the media, I think there is profit that is going up there. Just from my own personal experiences on, that YouTube shares with documentaries and children who are making bad choices and then actually go there and you get to sit down with the inmate. A lot of it, I wouldn't necessarily say it's just for like show or act. Sometimes a lot of it is just to really put in the proper mindset into the young youth to say the choices or the things you're doing right now is not going to get you anywhere in life. And your parents are already upset with you, your mom, your dad don't want anything to do with you. Come in here, hopefully this will change it, but they still have a whole total different mindset. They're going to do whatever they want to do. They don't care what anybody else thinks. So I'll say sometimes it is. Sometimes it is, but most of the time, I would just say for the YouTube, yeah, it could be. But in the real life,
as far as helping black males to understand their potential, what do you think is a good way to move forward and help them to progress past these stereotypes that seem to have shackles on them?
okay. So for us, as a black people here, we need to not let
Just speak up, just speak up.
we need to not let words get to us. We need to go back to how things were, I'd say around the 60s, 50s. We need to start reading more. Not necessarily to say in a school setting, but just to accumulate knowledge of all the things we want to know. Just educate ourselves on anything of interest in your mind. I think now that we're in another time setting, a different age, the Earth's continuously evolving, different season, the Earth's gears. A lot of things we should just let go and continue to move on. Because everybody is great in their own way. There's good and bad about everybody. It's always pros and the cons. Those who are doing the good work and those who are doing the bad work. But it's about how are you going to counterfeit? How are you going to have that ability to change? Because at the end of the day, you are the one responsible for your own actions.